What we're going to talk about today is key areas to pay attention to for maximum results in life and business. Because let's just face it, we're not just professional, we're also personal, right? So we need to not only develop professionally, we need to also take care of ourselves personally. My job today is to invest into your spirit and into your mind so that there's deposits that go with you for a long time. This is something that's going to go ahead and cross not only the stage of automotive, but it's going to go into your life. Whatever role you have, as a spouse, as a father, as a mother, as a brother, whatever it might be, this is going to speak to the person, okay? It's to help build a life that can withstand good times, bad times, rough times, easy times. And we're going to look at areas that we need to focus on so that we can take care of what we can control. Somebody say control. Control. Because there's too many things in this life we can't control. And we can't get stuck on worrying about the things we can't control. I heard somebody once say, I don't worry about the things that I can't change because I can't change them. I don't worry about the things that I can change because I can change them. Therefore, I just don't worry. Easier said than done, right? But when you have the ability to change something, you can change it. When you don't have the ability to change something, you can't change it, so what do? Don't worry about it. Just move on and focus on the things that you can control and change. All right? So we're going to look at 3 areas here. Number 1, a strong foundation, which is your core belief system. Number 2, a positive mentality, which is your attitude and your perception. Number 3, an unwavering commitment to continuous improvement. This is your confidence level and your commitment to never quit. You see, my goal is to provide you with powerful truths that will move you into action and bring you to a place of inner strength, clarity of mind, and a disciplined daily routine. Okay, so what we want to look at is we want to look at how we can focus and stay focused on the things that matter. Because this world is throwing many distractions towards us. Would you agree?
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, most places there's always something going on around you. Just think about this. If you go anywhere today, between the time that you leave here today and get home, most places are going to have some sort of background music. There's going to be something playing on a TV. You're going to experience the social feeds. You're going to be looking at your phone. You're going to also be seeing the text messages come through, group text messages, every app known to mankind, so that you can, be informed with stuff that you probably don't even need to really worry about. But some people have said we are now becoming the United States of what? Distraction. We're so distracted. And with constant news that's pumping through us on social media, digital efforts, traditional channels, feeding us real-time updates and current events, we've become a world that's drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. You see, too many people within the grasp of our very hand at any moment, we can get all the information we need. And what is information? It's input. The problem with today is that we have plenty of input, we just don't know how to do the output. It's taking a toll mentally on America because we're flooded with information. But yet we're starving for wisdom, and people have become mentally compromised. Look at these statistics here. Nearly 1 in 12 U.S. adults reports having depression. So think about it. If we count 1 through 12, 1 in 12 have depression. All right? Women are twice as likely as men to be depressed. A lot of that has to do with the men in their lives, probably. But not always. But the mental health and substance abuse services industry is at an all-time high, bringing in over $54 billion a year in revenue. What they're doing is they're taking people and they're giving them medicine to overcome their problems, instead of teaching them how to overcome those problems. So we have a problem. 52% of college students feel like things are completely hopeless. They did a poll. They took these college students and said, look, you're graduating. How do you feel about your future? 52%, more than half of the graduates, feel like things are completely hopeless. Things are falling apart. The leaves are shaking off the trees. Our kids are going crazy. They're eating Tide Pods and snorting condoms. This is real. This is what kids are doing. Why? Because they're trying to live a life according to social media to get likes, engagement, and comments only, not realizing, as we do as adults, we understand the difference of social media, branding, and using it for the right reasons. Kids don't get that. I have 3 kids. I have a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 11-year-old. My 11-year-old is constantly doing this, wanting to be on Musical.ly, Snapchat, Instagram, and all these different social platforms, using filters and everything else to try to be something for an audience. I'm speaking to her school about building your life between the posts. And I'm talking about the social media posts. Too many kids are thinking that social media is real life when it's a highlight reel. And they compare their real life to a highlight reel, and you have 9, 10, 11-year-old kids stressed out, full of anxiety. Their self-image and esteem is down real low, and they have problems. They want to kill themselves. They slash themselves. They do these things because they're comparing themselves to something that is a highlight reel. And it's taking this world with all the information. The kids get stuff too soon. Their brains are getting activated so much more quicker. You know, I said this to someone recently. Kids aren't like cars. It's not like the 2018 models coming out this year, right? And we sit there and look at the kids. Wow, they're so much more smarter than we were when we were kids. Why are they so smart? I'm going to tell you why. Because we have something that taps into them much more quickly now. But we shouldn't be touching that thing. They need to be kids. Be a kid. I say to my kid, my kid that starts worrying. Well, where are we going? What are we doing? How do we do this? What about that? I said, you know what? You see that doll? That's your world right there. Go and play with that, and the mommy and daddy will take care of this. You just don't worry about what we're doing. It'll get done. Trust me, you'll come along. You won't be left out. You'll be taken care of. But the information is making everybody crazy. It's information overload. Okay? And what happens is, especially in this industry, because we deal with pressure in this industry, would you agree? Yeah. We have some stress that comes along in this industry, would you agree? Yeah. The problem isn't the stress and pressure, because we understand it comes. We have to understand how to manage the pressure and the stress. Okay? We have to understand that pressure is going to come. And that even though it's coming, that's not the focus. The focus isn't the pressure. It's what side of the pressure we position ourselves under or on top of. Did you ever hear somebody saying, I'm under so much pressure? When you're positioned under the pressure, what can happen to you? You can get crushed. But if you allow yourself to leverage the pressure, positioning yourself above the pressure, it can shoot you up and elevate you and use that pressure as momentum to bring you places you thought you never could go. So it's not about the pressure, it's not about the stress, it's about how you position yourself to make sure you handle it the right way. It's like going out and taking a sailboat into an ocean. It's not about the wind, it's about how you use the wind with the sailboat to get where you want to go. Right? Yes, say amen. Amen. All right, because I'm taking you to church now. So here we go. PVC pipes are pressure tested. And here's the deal about the PVC pipe. They take one side, they shut it off. They take the other side, they shut it off. And they shoot air into the PVC pipe. And with that, they also put baby powder in there. And now what happens is, if there's any stress cracks or anything that's in there that's weak, the pressure exposes it. But here's the deal: the PVC pipe, there wasn't cracks in the PVC pipe that were made by the pressure. The pressure just revealed what was already there. So what happens is in life, pressure comes against us, and now all of a sudden our wife or our husband says something, and all of a sudden an explosion takes place. Why? Because we've allowed ourselves to now not take care of that area that was exposed and be able to handle it the proper way and make sure that we're able to, fix it. Instead, we just explode, and then we just excuse the fact that life's hard, work's hard, stress, the boss, deals, end of the month, whatever it is we use as our excuses. But we need to remember that it's not the pressure that makes the cracks and the holes in our life. It only reveals those things. And once we get those revealed, we need to fix them. We need to look at how we can fix them. And what we do is I use what I call the E3 formula. Evaluation plus education equals elevation. So in other words, we look at the fact that in any area of life, we can bring this formula into that situation, and then we can fix it. How? Because we do an evaluation on it. What's an evaluation? Let's use terms we know. It's an appraisal. So an evaluation is simply just taking an appraisal of that situation, of that circumstance, of whatever it is you're going through. And now you do an evaluation, you do an appraisal. An appraisal is a real-time look and value of the condition of that thing. You start doing the silent walk around on it, right? You see, there's a spot here. The paint meter shows this panel was repainted. You can see that there was a Carfax has an accident on it. And so you start looking in these areas, and wow, we have a real understanding now of the condition of this thing. Whatever it is that you use it for, whether it's your leadership, whether it's your ability to sell your skill set, whether it's your relational side of things, emotional, whatever it might be. But once you do that, once you allow yourself to evaluate it, then you need to educate yourself. Once you have an evaluation, you know what it looks like. That's the condition it's in. Now, how do I fix it? How do I get better? I get education. That's why we're here. We're receiving education. But here's the deal. Education is not just about information. Herbert Spencer said this: the great aim of education is not just knowledge, but it's action. It's not just knowledge, it's action. Because what we want to do is we want to take what we get in information and knowledge, and then we want to apply it in our lives. Too many of us are going to go home with a notebook full of notes and do nothing with it. Because education is not just about information. It's about action. Okay? And once we put into practice that information and we take action on it, it will then elevate us in our position, whether it's in our skill sets, in sales, in service, in life, in relationships, as a parent, whatever it might be. Whatever area of weakness you discover in that evaluation, you educate, you take it, you learn from it, you apply it, and you elevate from it. Right?
Yes.
All right. So, knowledge is power. Anybody hear that before? Knowledge is power. Like electricity, okay? Electricity is power also. In this room is electricity right now. Does anybody see electricity in this room right now? Do you? No, you don't. You see the results of electricity. Because if you saw electricity, you'd probably be dead if you saw it, okay? But what happens is the electricity is channeled properly. The only reason why you see the results of it is because the power switch was turned on. It's the same thing with knowledge. We get all this knowledge. If we do nothing with the knowledge, we're never going to see the results of it and have it change our lives for the good. So what we need to do is we need to flip the switch of our knowledge on so that we can experience the benefits and the advantages of what we're learning. Right? So we can see a difference. I heard somebody once say that the greatest place, and the greatest place where treasure's buried is in the cemetery. In the minds of people who never acted on the knowledge that was deposited and invested into their life. Don't be that person. Don't take it to the grave. Get rid of it. Whatever's in there, start acting on it so that you can elevate yourself and your life. Knowledge is necessary, but without action, it's going to only ever be just good information. You don't want to go home and say, wow, that was good information. We had a great conference. Wow, that was some really good information. But knowledge without application, that's what it is. Information. But information plus application equals transformation. If you want to transform the results of your life, you need to start applying what you have and what you learn. You see, if I want to go from being A shape and go into being in shape, I got to go to the gym and not just stand in there. I have to actually work out, right? I have to start applying what I know to do. And it's not going to happen by just standing around the stuff. Just because you're sitting in here, you're not going to go back and do anything different unless you apply it. Am I driving that point home enough?
Yeah.
All right, good. And what happens is this, because a lot of you are walking out of here today with goals, okay? And so many times, you'll have these goals. You have the knowledge. But if you don't apply it, you're never going to reach the end in which you're trying to aim for. And a goal is the end to which all efforts are being directed, right? And some people have more excuses than they have efforts, and they don't think they have enough leads. They don't think they have enough phone-ups. They don't think they have enough bone deals. They don't think that they have, enough training. And so all they focus on is their excuses rather than efforts. And instead of looking at excuses, what we need to start doing is looking at how we can change what we do. And when looking to improve our ability to achieve our goals, here's one way I'm going to help you move into action. There's two columns in life that we have. There's a want to column and there's a need to column. In the want to column, that's something that is an option. We might get that done. And then there's the need to. There's a need to column that's what's going to get done. It's a mandatory thing. We need to get this done versus we want to get this done. I said this to Anthony last night. I said, Anthony, what's the number one thing in this world that you love the most? What's that answer, Anthony?
People.
No, what's the answer you told me? What's the number one thing in this world that you love most?
Oh, making a difference.
No. What did you say?
No.
I'm glad that this really set into your heart here. You can see this is making an impact. No, it was your son. Okay? So let's go ahead and ask someone else that question now. So, if it was your son,
Yes.
I said, what if you got a FaceTime from your wife's phone? And on the other end of it, when you said hello, there was a terrorist holding your son with a gun to your son's head and said, Anthony, you have 24 hours to secure 2 deals. And if you don't, your son is as good as dead. What's going to happen? You remember now, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the way you approach that? What if you look at, now what's going to happen? That's not, what will happen negatively if I don't take action and achieve my goals? What's going to happen if I don't do this? We need to put what we have in want tos and move them into a column of need tos. Okay? Many times the answer to that question will move you from that want to column into the need to column. And what it does now is it creates activity with more weight and more importance. What does that mean? That means you're going to ask for the deal one more time. That means you're going to take the customer back out on a test drive if they're not sure. That means you're going to go ahead and explain the features and advantages and benefits. You're going to go over the value, the competitive advantages again, one more time. You're not going to let that person walk out. I say this just like we talked about before, the end of the month mentality, right? There's that person, at the end of the month, you have one more deal to hit your line bonus. What do? It's the last day of the month. You come at it in a different way. Well, if you have that same mentality on the first of the month, the second of the month, the third of the month, every day is the end of the month mentality, you're going to attack each day differently. You're going to have an awareness. You're going to be heightened up. You're going to be, hyped up so much more, right? You're not just going to wait because it's the end of the month now. We need to build a life that's strong. And in order to do that, we need to apply what we hear, okay? No matter what it is, we have to apply it so that we can receive the benefits from it. To extract the maximum results from life and business, we're to form a strong foundation. This is what I want to make sure we get to you. You need to build a strong core belief system in your life. You need to build and secure a strong core belief system in your life. There's a theme going on this weekend, or this week here, these last 2 days. And there's a lot of talk about making sure you believe in yourself, making sure you have a good mentality, a positive mentality. It seems like almost every speaker is touching on it. And it's because it's a major part of your success. If you're ready to do the impossible, if you're ready to overcome your fears and step into your purpose, the power of belief will propel you from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Physical, mental, and perceived impossibilities and fear will paralyze you from taking action. And however, impossibilities shrink and fear is extinguished under the shadows of someone who is propelled by the power of belief. When you believe in yourself strong enough, you can accomplish anything. All things are possible to those who believe. And your faith, your belief system, is the most powerful force in the universe. Never stop believing in yourself. Never stop believing in who you know you're created to be. One of the greatest struggles you're going to ever face in life is letting go of the person who you thought you were so you can become the person who you really are. Woo! All things are possible to him who believes. Your core belief system is the accumulation of facts and knowledge that you accept as truth. You take it, you embrace it, and you make it yours. The more you feed it, the stronger it gets. The stronger it gets, the more confidence you possess. The greater your confidence becomes, the more easily it is for you to speak about it and take corresponding actions towards it. When you believe something strong enough, out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth, your actions, everything is speaking loudly, clearly, and freely. There's nothing stopping you. And this is true when we're selling. This is true when we're dealing with our customers. If we don't believe in our service, if we don't believe in ourselves about what we believe of our service and of our products, then we're not going to convey confidence to the customer. And confidence is transferable. If you're not confident, they're going to lack confidence to say yes. And if you're not confident in your ability to believe in yourself, believe in your product, believe in your service, then you're going to short-circuit your success. This translates in every area. And this is all about the foundation of your life. If you have a cracked foundation on a house or a building, it compromises the entire structure. The strength of the building lies within the foundation. And the main purpose of the foundation is to hold that structure up and keep it upright. Foundations aren't always noticed and admired when they're strong. Not one of you, when you were walking around Vegas, was looking at foundations. You were looking at what's above the foundation. But I'm going to tell you, if you saw all of a sudden something to start swaying, or you saw cracks in the wall, and the door didn't shut right, and the windows were hard to go ahead and move up and down, that shows you that there's a crack in the foundation. Something has been compromised, and now it's making its effect amongst the entire structure. Same thing in your life. If you let inside that foundation, your core belief system, fall apart, and you don't believe in yourself or in someone or something greater than yourself, it starts to cause those things to crack in areas that once were solid. It starts to make those doors not shut all the way anymore. It makes those windows that were easy to open get harder to open and close. And now you're not so free-flowing in your conversation. The things that you say and do aren't as fluent as they used to be because something's cracked in the foundation. We need to make sure we take care of the foundation, because when the foundations are weak and compromised, the structure above it is going to begin to change. When we start doubting in ourselves, when we start doubting in our abilities, we start doubting in our products, we start doubting in our services, we start doubting in our ability to service our customers well, everything gets messed up. We need to form a strong foundation, a strong belief system in yourself. Say this after me. I am created for greatness. I am blessed to be a blessing. Now say it like you mean it. I am uniquely and wonderfully made. I am smart. I am sharp. I am the best sales professional in my store. My energy level is on full tilt. I'm full of wisdom. I am happy. I am positive. I'm always ready to make a positive impact in someone's life. How good do you feel about yourself when you say that? What did I just do? I just injected something into that foundation. That crack now has that quickcrete going in there, and it's starting to repair it and bring it back together again. When you form a strong foundation of faith and belief in yourself and in something greater than yourself, you're setting yourself up to extract maximum results from life and business. Secondly, create a positive mentality. That's your attitude. Your mentality is your viewpoint. It's your mindset. It's your attitude. Much of this is connected to your core belief system. But your mentality is simply the way you think. It's how you think. It's your filtration system. A positive mentality is the result of choosing. Someone say choosing. To see the positive in life, in business, relationships, and situations. This is the management of your thoughts. Someone say thoughts. What you think on and how you think, what thoughts you allow to come into your heart and mind, and what thoughts you choose to refuse from coming in is what creates your overall mentality. You see, just because a thought comes doesn't mean that that thought is yours. You don't have to keep it. Are you listening to me? You need to identify the negative and damaging thoughts and refuse them. Listen, just because a bird flies over your head doesn't mean you need to let it make a nest in your hair. It's the same thing with thoughts. Just because a thought comes in your mind, you don't have to let it stay. You can refuse that and you can say, no, I'm not thinking about that. And you want to know one of the greatest ways to shut down your thoughts is by speaking. Because when you start speaking, you stop thinking about that thing. Want me to prove it? Start counting in your mind to 100. When I say go, start going from 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when I say a word, say that word out loud, but keep counting at the same time without missing a beat. All right, ready? Start counting in your head. I am awesome. Keep counting. I am great. I'm full of energy. I have all the wisdom and the knowledge to be able to be successful. How'd you do? All right? See, what happens is when you start talking, you shut things down. And too many of us are sitting there having this battle within our mind about how to overcome things, and you're just getting beat up, and you're just mental. And you're fighting it. And you're sitting there trying to overcome it. We need to not let those things in. What we need to do is put a bouncer at the door of our mind and ID every single thought. And if it's not going to say, if it doesn't meet up to the age limit, it's not allowed in. Throw it out. Don't let it come in anymore. Don't let it rent space in your mind. With every thought, why? Because every thought brings emotion, feelings, memories associated with those thoughts, moments that you experienced, energy, motivation, inspiration, hope, hopelessness, fear, faith. All of this comes just from a thought. Your mentality is the sum total of your thought life. When you see, hear, and do, what you see, hear, and do help contribute to the outcome of your mentality. Listen, paradigm shifts. How do they take place? They happen when the usual way of thinking about something or doing something is replaced by a new and different way. If you never put new deposits into your mind and heart, you'll never experience the shift in how you see and think about things. The third thing, the last area we're going to focus on is our unwavering commitment to continuous improvement. The logo on my company is a circle. The reason why is because it's continuous. It never ends. We're always looking to improve. We're always looking to get better. When we commit to something, continuing education is vital. We need to stay teachable. Never stop learning. I found out that the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. And so it's very important to continue to deposit into our hearts the things that are important for us to get better. Steve Jobs delivered a commencement speech to Stanford. He talks about how dropping out of college is one of the best things he ever did while he was talking to college students. Listen to this.
But I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was, spending all the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them.
Yes!
If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped in on that calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later.
So, what we see here is that he dropped out of something so he can drop into something that interested him. And so what we need to remember is that no matter what we're doing, no matter what we're going to, no matter what conference we're in or what we're doing in our own personal time, drop in on things that interest you, because you never know how that's going to help you in your ultimate purpose. 10 years later, he took what was deposited within him. Think about this. It was an investment he put into himself that 10 years later returned. That's what investments do, right? When you invest into something, sometimes it's not like immediate. It could be 5 years. It could be 10 years later when you use it. You know, I planted seed out in my lawn. The next day, I went out there and the seed wasn't a full blade. And I didn't look and say, hey, what the heck is going on here? I planted this seed, and I just can't believe it hasn't grown yet. No, I didn't do that because I understand there's a process of growth. And what he did was he deposited something in him so that 10 years later, he can use it. And many times you're going to get deposits that you might not use right away. You might use it a week later, a month later, a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later. But it's in you. And it's just there so you can extract it when the time is right. And here's the other thing. You might get something that has nothing to do with you. you might get it for someone else. And when you realize that you're hearing something not just for yourself, but so that you can be a carrier of that to help bring it to someone else and help them along, it carries so much more weight and importance with it, right? Amen. It's not just about ourselves. It's not just about us. It's about doing what we can do to help others, right? Yeah. Come on. And in the process, we need to keep learning, keep depositing. When you realize that what you're learning may not be for you, it drives so much more weight. Throughout your journey of life, look, we all have it. Sean was talking about it. And many others were talking about the things that they went through to become who they are. And you may have failed. You may have hit a snag. You may have been fired, let go, lost your marriage, lost a relationship, lost a loved one, and experienced tremendous blows in your life. And setbacks and failures happen. But I'm here to tell you that you're not the situation that you're dealing with. You're not the failure. You're not the setback. You're not the mistake. It's not you. You don't have to be that situation that you're dealing with. And I said this to Sean the other day. I said, you know, in life, it's kind of like a cake. When we bake a cake, individual ingredients taste terrible if you eat them alone. Right? You might be dealing with a situation in life that tastes real bad right now. But when you take that egg, and you try to drink it or eat it without, putting it with something else, it's bad. But when you take an egg and you put it with flour, and you put it with sugar, and you put it with chocolate chips, and more chocolate chips, and vanilla extract, all of it mixed together smells good and tastes good, not only for you, but for the people that you're going to serve it to also. So it's all about taking those things and understanding that it's building the character of who you are. So you can help bring along others and bring them up and pull them out. So they know that they're not the failures also. Because we know, like Zig Ziglar said, failure is an event. It's not a person, right? And so many people have failed. Some of the greatest success stories followed failed attempts, small beginnings, and perceived disasters in life. We can go through each one of them. Walt Disney, Steven Spielberg, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Oprah, J.K. Rowling, which is Harry Potter, right? She was basically suicidal and living in a car and rejected by 12 different publishers until someone got her stuff. All these people here, Samuel L. Jackson, Stan Lee. Did you know Stan Lee? He's a Marvel Cinematic guy. Anybody or girl? All right, Stan Lee wrote the Fantastic Four when he was 40. Okay? Much of his success started happening later in life. You look at all these people. Brian Acton, how about that story? You know who that is? Brian Acton, you ever hear of him? Brian Acton, what he did was he worked for Yahoo as the vice president of engineering, left that job, then applied for a job over at Facebook. Facebook said, no thanks. Then you know what happened? Then he went to Twitter, they said, we don't want you. So him and another guy had a startup, and they made this thing called WhatsApp. And 5 years later, Facebook bought it for $19 billion. The company that said, we're not going to hire you, ended up buying his thing that he created. Steve Jobs. I mean, we look, time and time again, there's example after example. Let me just say this to you, and we're going to end with this. So many times in life, we try things and then we fail. Anybody else in here do that besides me?
Yes, sir.
You try something and then it didn't work out, right? And then what happens is people fall into what we call the pike syndrome. Anybody hear of the pike syndrome before? Pike is it's a predator fish. And there was a scientific experiment done with this predator fish. And they had a big tank, and they put these pike fish in the tank. And then what they did was they took a glass cylinder and put it right into the middle of the tank. Now the pike fish was in there, swimming around. Then it took the pike fish bait, minnows, and dropped them into the middle of the cylinder. So now every time the pike fish would try to go after it, it would hit the glass. It didn't see it. It would hit the glass, but it was going off its instinct. It knew it wanted to eat that, and so it would try from another angle and hit the glass. It would try from another angle and hit the glass. It would try from another angle and hit the glass. A few hours later, it was so exhausted, it lay at the bottom of the tank. And so what they did next was they removed the cylinder out of the water, and the bait now was swimming freely in the same water with the predator. Of course the predator is going to go after it, right? No. The predator laid there because something happened in the mind of the predator saying, I can't eat these fish. and the fish was swimming around it. The fish, the bait, was swimming right next to it, right by its mouth, above it, all next to it. And you know what happened to that pikefish? It died. It died, and it had the provision it needed all around it. And what happens in our life is this. We try time and time again to start a business. We fail. We try to talk to a customer, and we hit a brick road. We hit a brick wall. We try to do something, and we fail. And so what happens is we give up. And we don't go after it when there's opportunity after opportunity sitting around us. And we can overcome it if we allow ourselves to say no. We can still do this. It's not too late. Even though I may have missed it and messed up before, I'm going to get it now and I'm going to succeed. It's going to take effort. It's going to take action. It's going to include your heart. It's going to include your mind, your personal money, your time. But when you focus your efforts and attention on these three areas, your core belief system, a strong foundation, a positive mentality, your attitude and perception of life, and an unwavering commitment to continuous improvement, you will enjoy the benefits and reap the results of the maximum returns of life and business and everything that you put your hand to. Can somebody say amen?
Amen.
All right? I'm done.
Woo.
Chris, thank you so much for coming out and picking my cup. Joe Keller, everybody, make some more noise! Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate you, my